The Washington Commanders hold on in a nail-biter 20-17 over the New England Patriots, which means it's time for the onesie. Let's go. Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Ref the District's Instant Reaction. I'm Nathan Perry. That's the Stoner here on the Believe Network. The Washington Commanders taking home a 20-17 burgundy and gold W thanks to a late game Quan Martin interception. And we are ecstatic. And I get to pull out the old school onesie for this as well. But I tell you who's really excited, Stoner.
Who's excited?
That's our man OPG Bubbles during our live play-by-play. He told us he put down $500 on the Washington Commanders. I tell you what, if he would have gone to Bet Online and used our code BELIEVE, they would have given him a 50% welcome bonus on that first deposit as well. And he's winning big. That's right. The last of the major pro sports leagues is off and rolling. And college basketball is ready to go as well. Bet Online remains your top spot for all your live betting action and contests. NFL, college football, UFC, and NHL are all in full swing. BetOnline is your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions. All the hoops betting action along with every sport available at your fingertips with both desktop and mobile access anytime, anywhere. Head to the Bet Online today and remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, for your 50% off or 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, where the game starts. Game started out today, Stoner, and Washington's favor. 3-and-out on the offense, but after that, they seemed to start getting things rolling, and then tragedy struck for Washington, and they found themselves down 14-10 at the halftime break.
Yeah.
Turnovers. What is it with this team? And they just can't stop but kicking themselves in the shins.
I don't know. I think tragedy, you're really going for the throat there with tragedy on there. But yeah, well, I mean, it is tragic when that happens and your team is dominating the game.
That's what I'm saying.
They have a turnover.
This felt like Washington should have been winning like 30-17, not 20-17. And I feel bad for kind of going into that negative side right away. You know, I like to stay positive, be a little positive, Perry. But it's just like I'm sitting there looking back at this game here for our instant reaction and thinking about it. And it was like Washington was running the ball well. Washington was moving the ball well. Washington was stopping the New England Patriots attack at every 100%. Step of the way, minus one play. One play. And yet this game was a 3-point nail biter. But I'm super happy to be able to throw on the onesie right now, Stoner. I really am. I mean, so let's push the talk about those the interception and the fumble in the first half to the side for now.
Okay.
And let's talk about some of that good there. Eric Bieniemy and Sam Howell are cooking here right now. Back-to-back games, first time since 2020 that this offense has had 400-plus yards. This is back-to-back first games for Sam Howell to have over 300 yards passing. He threw for just around 66% completion percentage, had a couple key drops by his wide receivers too. So otherwise that would be higher. I mean, what do you make of these two young guns for Washington?
Yeah, look, there was a lot to like about this offense, especially in the first half. And I think starting off the second half as well in the third quarter, they only possessed the ball 2 times, and yet they had a touchdown and a field goal on those 2 possessions. Now, the fourth quarter is a little bit different. There's a little bit more pressure. Things are going on. But look, that first half offensively, again, other than those 2 just botched plays, they were very, very good. And we looked at the stats at halftime, and it was, again, very lopsided, the pass-to-run ratio or run-to-pass ratio, whichever way you want to look at it. He dropped back 32 times, and they ran the ball 14 times. Look, that's not a great ratio. But when you look at it in context, most of those throws were short throws. They were quick drops. They were slants. They were screens. They were behind the line of scrimmage. And so they were very effective at keeping that pass rush off and allowing Sam to not get sacked. I think in the first half he didn't get sacked at all. Maybe he did the one time. I can't remember exactly. He was only sacked 3 times the whole game.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember if they were all in the second half or not. But they were just so efficient offensively. They were running the ball effectively in that first half as well. And then you had the fumble, which changed momentum for quite a bit of the game. And then Washington gets the ball, then they punt, and then you have that big run, that 65-yard run for Ramondre
64,
Stevenson.
yeah.
64, yeah. So that puts them up. But the offense didn't sort of sulk, and they moved the ball back down the field again. And then you had the interception before the half, which makes you change your grade from Sam to maybe an A to maybe a B+ because of how rough that was and how difficult it was to kind of overcome that. But look, Nathan, offensively, you're right. You're exactly right. Bieniemy and Howell were cooking this game. There was probably still too many dropbacks, deep drops that I didn't like. But otherwise, I mean, you can't complain about a quarterback who throws 67% and throws for 325 yards and a rushing attack that ran the ball 29 times. I don't think that was all planned 29. I think there's a couple of runs by Howell in there, but still,
yeah, you still have at least 24 planned runs in there from your running backs, Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson. Yeah, and just under 100 yards with that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what you want from your offense. You would like some more points, but again, they had a couple of times they just basically had points taken away from them. And then defensively in the first half, sure, you gave up 14 points, but you didn't give up a lot of yards other than that one big play. And so I felt good at halftime, even though they were down. And then there's a stat here that they had been 109-3 at Gillette Stadium when leading at halftime. New England had. And now they're 109-4 because Washington came back and won this game 2017. So I liked everything that happened in the first half, other than the score. They dominated every stat in that first half. Time of possession, yards, rushing yards, passing yards, third down efficiency, everything except the most important one, which was the score, and then the second most important, which is the turnover ratio.
Yeah, so you mentioned that third down conversions that Washington was able to convert. They converted 9 of 17 today, so more than 50% of it. And in the first half, a lot of those were short third downs. We weren't finding ourselves in this position where we're seeing a lot of third and longs, which we have seen, in times past, and it puts us behind the sticks. And the second half, we started getting behind the sticks a little bit more. I think that's where you're coming at with this passing attack was in a rhythm, and I think they started taking a little too many deep shots. That's why you get Sam Howell sacked 3 times. That's why you find yourself having to convert 3rd and 9s. And Washington, though, continued to move the ball down and able to put up 10 points in the third quarter to take the lead. And then they were holding on for the end. Now, there was one play call at the end of the game, which I was kind of questioned. And that
100%.
was third down. You're trying to wind out the clock. And I was calling for a pass play, but I wanted a quick pass play. Everybody else was like, it's 3rd and 6. You just run it. And then you go to the 2-minute warning and all this. I was like, no, you go for the first down here and you pass, but it's got to be a quick pass and everything. And instead, Eric Bieniemy and Sam Howell dial up a deep pass to De'Ami Brown that they don't get the penalty on. They don't connect on, and ends up stopping the clock and giving the Patriots offense some time. And that really, to me, outside of the John Bates tight end screen, which I flipping hate that call. Yeah. But outside of that, I thought the calling was good. There was maybe a little too many deep passes in that second half, but the opportunities were there for this team to move the ball and score. And the defense was playing in a way that you can trust them to get the stops that they needed to. Patriots scoring 17 on the day. It's right around their average for the year. But I mean, if you look at how they got there, they had the short field off the Brian Robinson fumble, 25 yards to go on that one. That's tough. We should expect our defense to hold them, but the Patriots score on that one. And then they have a defensive gaffe, which is what Jonathan Allen and Jack Del Rio have talked about, is they They just got to get their heads out of their behinds because they allow these big plays. But that 64-yard run by Stevenson was by far the most productive play and really the only productive play we saw from the Patriots. That put on the 14 points. Outside of that, they got a field goal. They weren't driving the ball. They never had long sustained drives. This defense, the first time playing after Montez Sweat and Chase Young were traded, held their own.
Yeah.
Being said, Stoner, they didn't get after Mac Jones. 0 sacks on the day. That part will have to change.
But I think Mac Jones also, they definitely had a game plan. New England did to throw. They were throwing a lot of those slants and a lot of screens or a lot of short passes, which is smart. That's smart to do in this NFL to not get your quarterback killed. But you're right. If you look at all of their drives that they had now, other than that, I'm looking at all their plays that they had. They did have an 11-play drive that was only 45 yards, but it was 11, 3, 3, 3, 2. No, that was the touchdown. 1. They did have a 12-play drive at the in the second quarter that got them a field goal. 5, 5, 5, 5, and then 9, which was the last play, which ended in the interception, which they hadn't even crossed midfield yet when they got the 9 plays to get them barely across midfield. So I think is very well what you're saying. And the defense I thought was actually very good. Look, we know it's Mac Jones. We know it's the Patriots. They don't have very many weapons, but it doesn't matter. You have to do what you have to do to win the game. We're not over here saying, oh, all of a sudden they've turned into a championship defense. But they did. How many times have we seen them go against an offense that's not supposed to be very good and have them score, 40 points like the Chicago Bears did? So they didn't do that. They did what they had to do. No sacks, although we should have had the KJ Henry sack. That was one of the worst calls in history.
Unbelievable.
And then I didn't think Mac Jones was sitting back there just kind of looking around. I thought he felt some pressure on a few plays and he had to make some bad throws or throw it away. And then, of course, at the very end there with that Quan Martin interception was just a massive play, a huge confidence booster for Quan Martin, who seemed to have gotten a lot of plays. We haven't seen the snap counts yet. But him and Emmanuel Forbes, I did want to shout out Emmanuel Forbes. Emmanuel Forbes seemed to be out there the whole game, and it was smart for Washington to do that because, again, there's not a lot of weapons to scare you. Now, next week, I might have a different opinion on how much I want him.
Yeah, Emmanuel Forbes getting the start today. Definitely interested in seeing his snap count. I thought that he played very well. He almost had an interception. Juju Smith-Schuster had to play some defense on that one.
That was pass interference, by the way, on the offense.
It probably was. There was a couple bad calls. There no OPI on that one. The pass, the roughing the passer against KJ Henry on what should have been his first recorded sack. I mean, that's as clean of a tackle as you can get. I don't understand. I mean, it was just he wrapped him up. He didn't even fall on him at, like, what do you want him to do?
He got to go back. Slid right off the top of him, man. But you know what? There were some questionable calls on both sides too.
Sure.
I thought there were some things that New England can complain about, even on that very last punt with the little face mask that they called on 41 or whatever. The hole that they called on him as well. I didn't see that. I don't think that those were really penalties, and they were very ticky-tacky. But there were some calls that went their way as well. So, and by the way, let's give Ron his flowers, and let's just say that on that incomplete pass, right, that they called complete, and he threw the flag, rightfully so, and the call was overturned. It was the right call at the right time. But
kudos to James Smith-Williams, who took 100%. The dive to make sure that we had the time to be able to call that.
Yeah, 100%.
And it worked out, and it was great, and it definitely Washington's favor for that one, and able to get the stop, and it was exactly what they needed at the right time, like you said. It's very interesting to see these two teams, Stoner. We're going in different directions, it seems, right? The Patriots, they're going to have to move on from Mac Jones next year. They're not looking good at all this season at 2-7. Washington 4-5, still under 500. But when you look at these two QBs, it looks like Washington has found QB1 and Mac Jones is not going to be the New England Patriots QB for much longer. Even statistically today, look at just they both dropped back about the same amount of times. 44 times for Mac Jones, 45 times, technically 47 with the sacks for Sam Howell, maybe a couple rushes in there. But I mean, Mac Jones was 22 of 44, 24 of 44. So almost about 50%, only 220 yards. Whereas Sam Howell's 29 of 45 with 325 yards. So almost 105 yards more off of 5 more completions and about the same amount of attempts. Sam Howell can absolutely deal it. And he has been showing more savviness. He's showing what we need to see here in the second half of the season, because up to this game, before this game, we saw a little bit of it in the Eagles game. He only took 1 sack in that. He was starting to play a little bit smarter, getting rid of the ball to the check down, throwing it out of bounds if it's not there, and really showing some smart play. This game, not only did he back it up with another 300-yard game, but he backed it up continuing to make those smart plays. We see him throwing it out of bounds. We see him, not taking those sacks. We see him taking the check downs, taking what the defense has given him. And I think that's why it was so baffling to end the first half with that interception where he has 2 guys covered by 5. 5 Patriots were in that backfield, and he was just trying to squeeze it into Jahan Dotson. It wasn't the right decision, but really the only bad decision by Sam Howell all game.
I agree. I agree that was really the only bad decision. Now, if they had lost this game, then we'd probably be killing him a lot more, because it was such a bad decision and it cost them a minimum of 3 points and probably 7. That was just a bad throw. But otherwise, you're right. He was very, very good. You just see it week after week. You can see the improvement week after week after week. These last 2 games, like you said, he has been more aware of not taking those big sacks. And that run that he had that was in the second half, right? When it was 3rd and 23. And he didn't just kind of run up and then slide. He wanted that first down, and he broke a couple of tackles and got 24 yards on a 3rd and 23. And that was huge for this team. So he was very efficient with the ball. He did have a couple of plays, but look, on the other side, you're right. Mac Jones is not that guy. You can see it week after week after week. He's not that guy. He made some plays today, some throws that you look at it and you just say, that's why he's Mac Jones. And that's why the fans and probably the front office in New England are sitting there going, I just don't think he's the guy. Because he had guys that were open. They had a 4th down play where he had a guy wide open and he just totally overthrew him. And just a couple of just bad throws out there. And even on the 4th down that they converted in that final drive, that 4th down that Juju Smith-Schuster had to make basically a miraculous catch. And who's the Pop Douglas was making catches that were very difficult. So yeah, this is fun to kind of see that our record may have not indicated at 4-5, but you can kind of see the ascension of the most important position for Washington. And then you can see the descension, if that's a word, the descent for the Patriots, which haven't had to deal with this for 20 some odd years. It's just finally they can get their comeuppance.
Well, Washington is going to have a victory Monday, and then they have to prepare for Seattle, who lost big this week. So they might be angry. Washington going to be on the road again, but enjoy the burgundy and gold. I'm Nathan Perry. That's the Sonar. This is presented to you by Bet Online. And until next time,
get that dub. Always love it.
Be a fan.